I wanted to do something quite simple for this video. Again, I'll be using this butcher's tray. You can see there's no sort of order to the paints. I've just squeezed out some paints and put them in this tray, and they become quite messy, but that's not a problem. And then I'll be using my Hake brush. I find these always quite nice with the skies, and especially if you've got a large area to paint. You can see this is my 1-inch. It's quite a small Hake brush, and I'm just using this to cover the top, the sky part of the painting. And then the first thing I want to do is just use this is actually raw sienna, just a little undercoat in the sky. So if I do put clouds in, then they'll be quite warm. And for this one, I want to capture quite a bit of light. So the middle of the sky, I'm going to have I'm going to leave a lot of white. So this is going to be quite bright. And then just add in some blue. And this just goes in with the raw sienna. You can use raw sienna or yellow ochre. I do usually tend to go for the yellow ochre, but this was in the tray, so I'm using the raw sienna. So you can see just to the right, you can see how I'm mixing the paints, just picking up, dabbing in just a little bit of paint here and there. I'm not really too fussed about the colour, just dabbing into a little bit of red, and on the other side there's a bit of blue. I think it's a French ultramarine. So I've given it a little bit of a purple sort of cast, and I want that to be my darker tone in the sky. So just brushing across, dragging the brush, just dabbing in a couple of clouds here and there, just to give a little bit of interest. So if you are new to this channel and you're not familiar with my channel, then please do hit the thumbs up, or if you're regular, then please do hit the thumbs up, give me a like, and also comments are welcome. Just let me know what you think. If you use Hake brush, if you use any of these techniques that I'm doing. And you can see I've just moved on to just a regular piece of tissue paper. I've just bunched that up and just taken out a little bit of paint, just creating a little bit of highlights in the clouds. So that's always quite nice to do as well. So obviously you can manipulate the tissue, you can bunch it up smaller, get smaller clouds. You don't want to make them too uniform. You don't want them to look like prints or anything like that, so you just change that up. So just going in, I'm going to make some bit of the horizon line, and I do want some mountains in this. It's really quite funny. When I first started painting, there's no way I could have produced a painting like this. When I first started, I had to paint something that I could see. Anything with that, I used to have to just copy or replicate what I see. And nowadays I seem to paint quite a lot from imagination. I've been to many places, many landscape where I see hills and that sort of thing. So it's quite easy to replicate that in my paintings, and it just gives me a lot more freedom. So if you're used to painting with photographs, then maybe try this. Just make yourself a sky, and then decide where your headland's going, or the horizon line, and then decide what you're going to do in the distance. So for this, I'm just getting my small mop brush, a little bit of water, and then damping the water off, and so it's a clean brush. And I'm just going in with, it's obviously damp, and then I'm just taking off some of the paint and just shaping a few mountains here and there where the light's hitting those. So it's really quite nice to do, quite simple. So again, I'm dipping in the water, cleaning the brush, and then with a tissue, just taking off the excess water so it's dry, and then just sculpting down, following the shapes of mountains, So I've got mountains on either side. It's always quite nice as a backdrop to whatever you're painting. You can see just lifting off some of that paint and just giving an impression of some mountains. It's really an illusion of some mountains. And I don't want much detail because this is going to be far in the distance of this painting. I do want a building, so I'm just going to cut around a shape, and this is where the grass is. This is the sort of mid foreground, so I'm just cutting around and leaving space for a building just to sit there in the middle of the painting. And so I'm just mixing up a green and then varying the colours as I come forward. So I want to go a bit warmer, and I want to use a bit more paint as I come forward. So the mixture is more paint, more pigment to water, so it becomes darker and you get this nice 3-dimension to the painting. So again, just dipping into my butcher's tray. If you don't have a butcher's tray, they really are quite handy to use. I did used to use a plate, just squeeze out a couple of colours on a plate and then just paint from that. The paper I'm using is actually Jackson's £140 cold press watercolour paper. And again, these brushes, I tend to use the same sort of brushes. This is a squirrel mop brush, and I'll be using different brushes as I go along. So just going in, adding different tones to the green and letting them mix together on the paper. You can see all the different sort of tones and the different colours coming through. So that just makes things quite interesting, quite nice. You don't want one big flat one colour, so it's nice to change things up as you do so. Again, please give me a thumbs up for this video, and also I do welcome any of your comments. So it's always nice when you do have buildings in landscape just to place a couple of trees behind the building, especially if it's a paler building or a white building. It's nice to get some contrast, some tonal values, and it also gives the solid shape to the building as well. So you can see the building sort of stands forward, and it gives that nice sort of 3D effect. It's always nice to do in watercolor. And you can use any technique. You can use paint any trees, any sort of anything behind the buildings. But you can see how effective that really is, and it's really nice to do. And you can achieve this. It's quite simple. And then I'm just going back to my Hake brush just to get a little bit of texture in the grass and the foreground. And I'm using my smaller brush now just to create a bit of a path that will run through the scene. So I'm just using a little bit of darker tone for this, and then you'll see how that develops. Here I'm just adding a little bit more darker tone because I want a little bit more pop with the building. So I'm just using the darker tones just to bring out the lighter values, give a bit more contrast. And you may see that I'm using my fingers as well just to smudge any sort of darker paint if it needs knocking back, or sort of not standing out too much. If I want to just take that paint out a little bit, I'll just use my fingers and go ahead with that. If I use a tissue, then it'll just take the whole all the paint off that I've just put down. So I don't want that, so I'm just using fingers just to smudge and just to take the darkness down a little bit. And then I wanted to add some more tones as well to the grass by the building. So using quite a lot of yellow here now, some yellow ochre and a little bit of green, just gives a nice colour. It's like a dry sort of grass in the countryside. Now, as always, I do like to include some birds. So this is quite enjoyable to do, and I do like to use a pen for this. Just gives me a little bit more control. It's sometimes quite hard to do with the paintbrush. it's hard to control the brush sometimes if you want a straight line or a little sort of bird in the scene. So I do like to use a pen for this, or even a pencil. Works quite well. You can see, just going close up, you can see the nice shadows on the building. There's my birds and the sort of clouds and sky. Got this nice shaft of light coming through the middle of the scene, which is really quite nice. It looks quite bright because I've got darker tones by the sides. So it works quite well. Let me know what you think in the comment section. If you do like this one, then please do again give me a thumbs up. It really does help the channel to grow, and it helps my channel to reach more people. So just removing the tape now, this is one of my favourite parts. It just makes the painting look complete, and it gives you an idea of what it may look like when if you're going to frame this painting. Then it gives you an idea of what it will look like framed with a nice frame and mount. So that's it. That's it for this week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.